Welcome to Mr. Francois's Fabulous Physics Forum. Today we are talking about how to identify which type of projectile motion we are talking about. Because if we look at a projectile motion, we can see a couple different categories that we can put things into when we launch something and when it lands. The first type of projectile motion that we can really talk about is a horizontally launched projectile motion, and that's when you have a height off of which you are launching something exactly horizontally. So all of its initial velocity is in the horizontal direction. Okay, and that's only the initial velocity, as it will then proceed to fall to the ground and either bounce if it's like a ball or go splat if it's just something icky. The second type is what I call angled and returning, also known as a full parabola problem. A full parabola problem has an object which is launched from ground level or from a level, and then we're talking about when it returned to that same level. Okay, so where it starts to where it ends up, that makes a full parabola, or at least a symmetric parabola. The next and last type that we're talking about is something that covers basically every single other thing, and that is angled and non-returning. So unlike the horizontally launched half parabola problem, we are launching at an angle, and unlike the full parabola problem, it is not merely returning to the same ground of which it started, but is changing its displacement vertically. So that makes it a 3/4 parabola problem. Now, the identifiers for these types, the special values that come about from them, are listed here. Horizontally launched half parabola problems, they have an initial velocity in the y direction of 0, because it's all horizontal. There is no vertical initial velocity at all whatsoever. So that gives us a special value to put into our equation, because it won't be told to us that there is nothing in the vertical direction. It's just there by implication. For angled and returning problems, because it's returning to the same level or same height as what it was, that means that there is no change from your starting height to your ending height if you're looking at the start to the finish of this full parabola problem. This means that your displacement is 0 because there's 0 change in your height. And lastly, the 3/4 parabola, there are no special values because everything would need to be told to you. Okay? Because it's being launched at an angle, so there's no implied velocity in that case. It is not returning to the same height, so there's no implied displacement like that. But for all of these, because there is something that is implied, the fact that they are projectiles, because we're talking about projectile motion, we cannot forget that for each and every single one of them, our acceleration in the x direction is 0, and our acceleration in the y direction is negative 9.81 meters per second squared. And this is because in order to be a projectile, there must only be gravity that is affecting it. And those are how to identify it. Check in for a different video as to how to solve something like this. And I will see you next time in class.